Hi, I'm Travis,
And I'm Greg,
and you're listening to Building Blank.
a collaborative world-building podcast.
And today we're talking about rivers.
Geography and the symbology.
All right, so today we're talking about rivers.
Yeah, and we're going to go into a bit of the geography, I think, and then just talk about them generally and then in fiction.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about the geography. Greg's going to teach me and all of us. And then I think we're going to talk about their uses in a fantasy setting, and a bit about some pop culture or fantasy rivers.
Yeah, and maybe some of the symbolism.
Yeah. All right. So where do you want to start, Greg?
Well, I think we should start with sources.
All right. So what's a river source?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ways you can get a river. And so the first way is a spring, which is common in humid areas.
Okay.
And it's just groundwater rises to the surface and flows away. And that's not the same as like a hot spring, which is just produced by geothermally heated groundwater.
Okay.
So just the springs, but then you can have a source be a lake.
Okay.
Like the Nelson River, right?
Okay.
Its source is Lake Winnipeg. Then you can have a marsh, or you could have another river be the source of a river, because they can, like, tributaries run into rivers.
Okay.
But you can also have a distributary where it splits.
Okay.
And then you can have glacier runoff, but then the most common way is precipitation on highlands. That is, yeah, like rain or snow from the
and
mountains
stuff where it's high.
or hills, yeah.
Okay.
And that's got a few different levels to it, or stages, I should say. And then it keeps getting bigger, right? Like,
yeah,
it starts as just surface runoff, and then that turns into, like, it just more and more gets turned into a river, right? Then it goes into rivulets, then rills, and then runnels. And that's all only like a few yards in length. The runoff, the rivulets, rills, and runnels, all those things.
I didn't realize there were so many words for it.
Yeah, it's just like as the water keeps getting bigger, right?
Yeah.
And forming kind of like these little streams of water.
Okay.
But then I wanted to figure out like a size classification, because, like, basically the difference between a brook, a creek, a stream, and a river.
Okay.
Basically, I came across a saying that I think I'm definitely going to use probably for any writing I do going forward. And that is: step over a brook, jump over a creek, wade across a stream, and swim across a river.
Okay. So it's just like it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you got to do more things to get across.
Yeah. And so, because I didn't know the difference between a brook or a creek. I always thought brook just sounded nicer.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were actually two different things.
Yeah. And I think they can be used interchangeably. And I think it's just as long as you're consistent,
Okay.
In your world or whatever you're doing. Like, but that's what I'm going to use in my book for sure.
Okay.
So anyway, after it goes from runnels, then it would go brook, creek, stream, river.
Okay.
Yeah. And so those would be the sources, and precipitation on highland being the most common.
Okay.
Yeah. And then,
cool.
Yeah, so they all have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
All right.
They always start at higher and end at lower, obviously.
And run down.
Ultimately ending in the ocean. But the end of the river is called a mouth. And there's about 5 different ways you can have a river end. It can end at the ocean. It can end at a lake. It could end at another river, which would be a tributary, right? And then, or you could have it run into a marsh, or you could even have it run into a desert.
Okay.
It'd be kind of cool,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all pretty straightforward stuff. Then I kind of went on this long goose hunt of trying to find out the types of rivers.
Okay.
And I found anything ranging from like 9 to 15 different types, all pretty similar.
Yeah.
But basically, I narrowed it down to 5,
Okay.
and 3 of them are just basically how the river is,
Okay.
and then the last 2 are where they are.
All right.
And so it could be any of the first 3. So basically, the first one, and there's about 4 or 5 different types within this, but I'm just going to call them all
Simplify it a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just a temporary river. And
Okay.
basically, when it rains, like in a desert,
Okay.
then you'd have a temporary river.
So like,
Or then-
rainy season, you have the big river and then it dries out.
Oh, exactly. Or seasonal, right?
Okay.
Like you'd have during the wet season, there's a river there. During the dry season, there isn't.
Okay.
And,
That's cool.
Yeah. And they all had different names, but I'm just saying temporary.
Yeah.
Then basically there's a young river,
Okay.
which seems to be just a fast flowing river. And then an old river. And old again was like broken up into mature, permanent, just old.
Yeah.
But basically they're all kind of the same. They're permanent, slow moving, usually winding, because as the river slows down or gets into flatter land, it'll start to bend
Okay.
and curve a little more.
That
And
makes
then,
sense. The young one's fast, the old one's slow. That's a neat way to look at it.
Yeah. And I mean, you're going to have, like, if you have a stream in the mountains, it's still going to be fast, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just on.
So can it turn from a young to an old, like down the chain?
I don't think so.
No?
Because how could a river be young in its beginning, but then old at its end?
Well, I was just thinking,
Right.
like, if it's like starts in the mountain, right, with like bigger elevation change.
Yeah.
And then like kind of like, plateaus down.
Yeah.
But, I'm not an expert. I was just asking,
Well, the way rivers seem to be classified too is, right, like they change name anytime they split off.
Okay.
So it would technically probably be a different river. Well,
Okay.
not really. Because there's usually one river that you can follow it all the way from its source to the end. And then there's a whole bunch of ways you can classify that. And then there's the tributaries, right?
Yeah.
And then they all change names. But no, I think if it's old, it's old.
Okay.
Also, depending where it is, like the older rivers might not have as much sediment
Okay.
because there's less erosion, right? It could be already in the bedrock a
Okay.
little bit. But, you can change it around how you like it.
Yeah.
But
As long as they stay in the home.
yeah. So yeah, temporary, young, and old
Okay.
is what I simplified it down to.
Cool.
And everything is kind of one variation or another of that.
Yeah. And then what were the other ones you had?
Yeah, the next 2 were, which I thought were kind of cool and more fantasy-esque, whereas one that's called an exotic desert.
Okay.
And that's basically just any desert that flows through any river that flows through a desert.
Okay.
And it's just called exotic because it's really wet and then the desert's dry.
So like the Nile.
Yeah. And then the other one is just an underground river.
Okay.
Which I think is always kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a cool concept to play with, to write with, right?
Yeah. And apparently they don't actually flow very long. So you wouldn't have an only underground river.
Okay.
Like it would be above water and then it would go underwater for like maybe
ground
for like a mile. And then it come back up.
Okay.
But I mean, if it's your fantasy world, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like with fantasy, you can take any of these aspects and just extend it, right?
Yeah. And I think that's kind of like that gentle touch.
Yeah.
Is I don't want to say better, but taking one aspect of a thing and making it just a little bit more, make it a little more fantastic.
Well, that's why it's fantasy, right? That's the definition.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And then after that, basically, I found something that was kind of cool, and it just kind of pertains to our river, the Clearwater Rush.
Yeah.
I found that rivers come in 3 colors,
Okay.
but basically these were first proposed by Alfred Russel Wallace in
Okay.
1853. So anybody that has kind of studied a little bit of Darwin's theory of evolution will recognize that Alfred Russel Wallace was the guy that was independently also like about to publish his own theory of evolution. He was working on it at the same time as Darwin,
Okay.
and Darwin just published his first. So now nobody really remembers Alfred Russel Wallace.
Well, we
But,
do. We here at Building Blank remember you, Alfred Russel Wallace.
Yeah, but these were originally used to describe rivers in South America only. But
Okay.
I just like them. And basically, the first one is a Clearwater river,
Okay.
and they're just clear. That's basically it. But they're usually ancient rivers
Okay.
because of the little erosion, right? Like they're cut into the bedrock, and there's not too much stuff floating around in them.
Okay.
And yeah, and they're clear. And then there's a Blackwater river, and it's black from the tannins of decaying vegetation,
Okay.
but it's not muddy. It's actually very clear,
Okay.
like the visibility, I should say. So I
So
don't know how that works.
It's black but clear.
Yeah, like the water itself is very dark, but yet it's still clear.
Okay, that's cool.
Like there's not a lot of sediment in it.
I don't think I can imagine that.
Yeah, there's some good pictures. Like if you just look up Blackwater River.
Okay, I'll have to do that after. Yeah, I'm thinking of like the rivers we have here, which are very not clear.
Yeah, and that would be the last one. That's the Whitewater River.
Okay.
And obviously not to be confused with like Whitewater Rapids.
Okay.
Could also be called just a brown river. And that's high in dissolved solids from erosion, low visibility, and I think those would be kind of the rivers you're thinking about here.
Okay, yeah. So like the red is a Whitewater river.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like it makes sense, but with that description, it's pretty spot on.
Yeah. And then the cool thing, because this is in use for the Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are rivers that fit this description. But basically, river dolphins in the Amazon love these rivers.
Okay.
Because they use echolocation, right?
Oh, okay.
So they're just like invisible in there. Nobody can see them, but they're just like, echolocating around.
Like little bats.
Yeah, exactly. And so I didn't even really know too much about river dolphins. I mean, not that I still do, or I still don't, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just some of the features that I thought were kind of cool. Eyots, I hope I'm saying that right. Eyots.
Okay.
Which are small islands and rivers.
Okay, so
Tolkien uses this a lot.
So like those ones we saw when we went camping this year.
Yeah.
That'd be an eyot?
Yeah, eyot. But I think it's more of a British term.
Okay.
And from what I found specifically for the Thames, but I'm reading Tolkien again, like Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And he uses that term a lot for just a small island in a river.
Okay.
And then there's Holmes, Holms,
Okay.
Holmes, which is either an island in a river or off the coast, like a mainland coast.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying. And then the other thing would be an oxbow lake. So that's when you have a curve in a river, also known as a meander.
Okay.
And then the river finds like a shorter path and kind of cuts the corner, leaving that curve cut off from the rest of the river, and then it turns into a lake.
Oh, that's cool.
So you have kind of like this curving river with like a little lake on the outside corner or curve.
Okay.
And that's what the Australians would call a billabong.
Oh, okay.
And then along the Rio Grande in Texas, it's called a resaca.
Resaca, that's a cool word.
Yeah.
I always assumed a billabong was like a marsh.
Yeah, I remember hearing a definition that it was like a dried out creek.
Okay, well now we know what it is. That's cool.
But yeah, and then then there's fords, obviously, which are
Trucks.
um, no, crossings,
Yeah.
and those are pretty important in, I would say, fantasy settings too, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, either you're crossing at a bridge or you're looking for a ford.
Yeah. Kind of cool thing about meander. There's a river can be meandering,
Okay.
and then you can also, I mean, that can be a way to describe somebody too, like, oh, they're meandering around. But we actually get that word from the Meander River in Turkey.
Okay.
And then now it just kind of applies to anything that kind of curves and winds and slow a little bit, you know?
That's cool.
Yeah. But so that was basically it. Just some, and there's tons of features, but I like those. Those are, I think, some of the big ones, kind of
Yeah. Okay.
fantastical ones.
Cool. So now, what types of how are we using them in our writing and world building?
Yeah. Like, why are you even mentioning that there's a river?
Yeah. So because the reason you're talking about a river at all is because for some reason. So typically, I find they're very often in fantasy used as like a border or like a defensive feature.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I've noticed. I've also noticed. Think of what was that river called? In Lord of the Rings when they have to cross it with Frodo to get away from the ring wraiths.
Oh yeah, and then the big flood comes.
Yeah, as like
Yeah,
a defensive feature. Fantasy, like in my opinion, all major cities should be on a river, not like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just because shipping and all that is so much easier with a river.
That is the Fort of Bruinen.
Bruinen. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Like something like that. Is very often used. You see them used as like borders of kingdoms. You also more so in writing in like novels, you'll find it as a challenge to the hero or protagonist.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
Representing
like
a something they have to defeat, right? To cross, to grow.
Okay. So very symbolically, like even I'm thinking like Robin Hood and Little John.
Yeah.
Doesn't he challenge him on that river?
He does. Yeah. In some interpretations, I don't know if that's the right word. But also like very important, it's being used as transportation.
Yeah.
Which I don't think gets done enough in.
Actually, right? One of my favorite kind of like economic whatever depictions of a river is in Game of Thrones House Frey.
Yeah, where they have the crossing.
They control it. I mean, House Frey is just a terrible house, and the way he writes them, it's like you just love to hate him.
Yeah,
but you can't say that they're not enterprising, or
yeah, they found a niche and they went for it, right?
Yeah, I think that's cool. They built it kind of around that.
Right.
So, what are some of the other uses?
I think sometimes going along with back to the challenge, sometimes they can be viewed as like a threat, dangerous, to kind of like symbolize danger or the unknown.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I've also seen them both be I've seen it be symbolized both as life. There has a beginning, end, a source, ocean, cycle of life, that type of stuff, and also like death and like the river Styx.
Yeah.
Ferrying souls to the afterlife.
Yeah, which really just kind of goes back to the border or the boundary.
Or also transportation.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, a lot of these kind of like mix and match and line up, and they can mean in one chapter they can mean one thing, in another something totally different. It's very flexible.
Yeah.
Or
and
meandering.
The funny thing is, I like that.
Yeah.
Very meandering. But rivers are very much like that. Like you could have a river be an exotic river in one part of its flowing, like it's flowing through a desert. It's exotic. Yeah. And then in another part, it could be an underground river as well. or it could be a meandering river, when it gets close to the ocean,
Yeah.
and then it'll be fast flowing up top. So they're very changeable.
Changing. A thing,
Dynamic,
I think.
I guess is the word.
Sorry?
Dynamic, I guess would be the
Okay.
word, right?
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite rivers from fantasy, from pop culture, from like examples?
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to talk about, or say, the Mander
Okay.
River in Game of Thrones. And it's my theory that George R. R. Martin was inspired by the Meander River.
Okay.
I have no facts to back that up. But the reason I say that is because like I said, we get the word meander from the river.
Okay.
And in the lore of Game of Thrones, he's kind of got that little thing with House Manderley.
Okay.
And then the Mander River. And he makes it kind of up for interpretation a little bit. He never explicitly states whether the river was named after the house or the house was named after the river.
Yeah.
He just kind of throws it out there and says, like, this is 1,000 years ago, this happened. You can decide what you think is
the right one. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Also, if we're on Game of Thrones, we should also talk about the trident. It features very prominently.
Yep.
And I like that it forks off then into 3 forks, if you will, like a trident.
Yeah, and then it's just called the trident. I'm just repeating you.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Another good one that I like to think about when I think about rivers and like when I'm kind of building is the Yanghui River in Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's
okay. Which one was that?
That was the one in the Fire Nation where it's like super polluted, and the people are living like on like the stilt village in the middle.
Oh, and the fish are all like deformed.
Yeah,
mutated.
So it's a good commentary on like the dangers of pollution and all that. But like, yeah, I thought it was a really good episode, and it's one that always stuck with me.
Yeah, actually, that just made me think of another thing rivers are kind of famous for, like the idea of downstream, like of being conscious of what you're putting into the river, kind of thing.
Yeah,
because often, especially back in like fantasy times, the sewage would just probably run right into the river, right?
Yeah.
So you get your water from the river upstream, and then you dump everything downstream.
Yeah.
But then there's another settlement down there. And it's just kind of like
full of
being
shit
a good neighbor. Yeah, literally. But yeah, exactly. The Yanghui, or however you say river.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. That's how it's spelt. Is there any other ones that you can think of immediately off the top of your head?
Like kind of like a wild river, you mean? Or
yeah, like impassable, right? Like this thing is, you'd be crazy to try to ford it because you're just going to get swept away.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Like rapids or waterfalls, or it's just a strong current.
On the flip side, it could also be used, I've seen, as like a cleansing feature.
Yeah.
So like the Nim Rondel River in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, that's the one in Lothlorien.
Yeah. So
or when they're coming up to Lothlorien.
Yeah, so totally different. Like the two, it's like boom, it's crazy rapids, you're not going to get across, and then this other one's like, again, now a nice slow, easy, washes away everything else.
I know there's rivers in Skyrim, and we always talk about Skyrim.
Yeah, we do. So there's a couple. I really like the Karth River in Skyrim. That's the one in the Reach. It's much more dangerous than like any of the other ones, I think.
Okay.
Because it's like surrounded on all sides by like cliffs, and it's like a rapids basically the whole way.
Just trying to think, would that be a young river? Because it's fast moving, but if it's in the rocks, I think it'd probably be an ancient river, right?
Yeah.
Or an old river.
I'm not sure. I don't know if they I'll have to go on and take a look and try to figure it out. All right. Okay. And what kind of economic ties are there when you're talking about rivers?
Well, I think the first one I would think of is that it would just be, first of all, used for water, right?
Yeah.
like humans, we gotta be drinking that water every day, so you need a good, clean source of it.
Mm-hmm.
And depending where you're situated on the river, you might be able to drink right out of there.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a thing that I'm just remembering now that I probably should have looked up. But basically, you can drink water if it's moving at a certain speed.
Okay.
Because if it's moving at a certain speed, it can't grow the bad bacteria.
Okay, that's neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like you could drink out of a waterfall or rapids. Oh yeah, also that means like anybody that's listening, don't go start drinking river water.
Yeah, boil your water first.
Yeah, but yeah, when it's moving a certain speed, it's safe to drink or safer
to drink. Cool, and I think the other ones are obviously like fishing and transportation and shipping and such. It's just a real lifeline. Again, I don't think you're going to have any. I mean, you can do what you want. It's a fantasy world. It's your world. But I don't like having any big settlements that are not on a river.
Or you'd have to explain it otherwise, right?
Yeah, you'll have to. Well, you don't have to. It's your world. But personally, I don't like doing that.
Another thing I would say economically, but also kind of ties in with symbolically, is the river as a fertility. Like if you think of the Nile, right? Like it's got those big floodplains.
Okay.
But then they relied on that for their farming, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, flood, all that nice silt, and just straight up fertility would come, and then it would drain back away, and then you'd have, good fertile soil.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. So I think we're gonna take a break, and after we're gonna get building.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, and welcome to the break.
Hello.
So yeah, get comfy, and we just had a new thing we wanted to talk about with you guys. So we've decided that what we want to do is we want to help spread the message for your projects. So if you guys have a project or a YouTube channel or a blog or anything that you want to be shared, let us know, and we'll put it out there. We'll spread it to our listeners. So I want to do a couple of shout outs today for some of our friends. My first shout out is to our friend Emma. She is on TikTok as @minty_fresh_2_death. She does D&D themed content. Really funny, cosplay, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, if you're on TikTok, go check her out. I also wanted to shout out our friend Nick. He's streaming on Twitch, playing a game called Tibia. You can find him on Twitch at Nixter303.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so if you guys want us to share your project, let us know. You can hit us up on Facebook, Building Blank Collaborative World Building Podcast. You can hit us up on Instagram at Building Blank Podcast, or you can send us an email at buildingblankpodcast@gmail.com. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Greg?
No, I'm just excited to do the world building bit.
All right, well, let's get back to the show.
All right, sounds good.
And welcome back.
Yeah, good to be here.
All right, so what are we building today, Greg?
Well, I'm glad you asked because
we didn't talk about this at all.
No, but I did take a few notes just because I've been getting a bunch of ideas for Building Blank.
Okay.
And I don't know, one of the reasons I love world building is just when life kind of gets kind of crazy, you can kind of go there and work on something.
Yeah.
And so with all this lockdown that we got going on in Manitoba, it's not kind of the best just being around here. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say it like that. But anyway, so basically I'm just going to our world and working on it.
Yeah.
In my head. But
all right.
So I kind of had this crazy idea.
Okay, lay it on me.
And just let me know what you think. So I was watching
I
Brave,
love it.
that the Scottish Disney one,
Sorry?
and then that Brave movie,
Yeah. Love that movie.
and that chick's accent,
Mm-hmm.
which I love, really reminded me of the Dragon Prince elves.
Yeah.
Rayla.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, different actress,
Okay.
but still. And it made me think of a trope that I really like called Our Elves Are Different.
Yeah. Okay.
Where it's just an elf in a fantasy setting or a world.
Yeah.
But it doesn't follow the regular like Tolkien-esque
Trope.
or fairy trope kind of
Okay.
thing. And basically I kind of got this crazy idea.
Okay.
And I was thinking, what if our elves and our orcs were reversed?
That is hilarious.
Why?
That sounds so funny.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because you had the same idea.
No, because so they're more akin to like barbarians, you're saying.
Yeah. And then the orcs are the ones that are kind of more spiritual or magical kind of thing.
Okay. I like this. Okay. Yeah. I was kind of wanting to work on like whatever elven village.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've been thinking about it, because you were talking about that.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about that. So.
All right, cool. Yeah. So I like that. I like our elves are different and they're more barbaric than you would imagine.
And then I was kind of thinking, like, with this lockdown going on, it's really making clear, like, I've very much an introvert, and I forget that humans are social animals.
Yeah.
That we really need it. Like, I almost think of it like in Sims, when like your socialization, you need to go out and talk to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think of it that way. Like, I don't think I need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
But then, like, even just talking to you or something, right? Or doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Is going to help that socialization bar. Like, I need to tick it off every day kind of thing. Or maybe not every day.
Well,
so I was thinking, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking, not necessarily the elves, if they were more barbaric, but what if there was like a race that was not a social animal? Like, they were literally meant to be solitary.
Okay.
And I was thinking about the elves because if they were long-lived, they wouldn't necessarily need to form like family units the same way we would, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know whether it's the elves or not. I was just thinking, I'd like to see. I might even do it in my book, just like a purely solitary race.
That's a neat idea.
But anyway, necessarily.
I mean, I'm not an introvert. I'm the opposite. I miss all of my friends and people. But yeah, so I do like this idea about them being like more barbaric, more tribe-like.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Elves, what is their tribe, clan, whatever going to be called?
Well, I'm not too sure, but what I was thinking is, what if it was the orcs in the forest, though?
Okay.
Like it could go two ways, right? Like, I was thinking either the orcs.
Oh, okay. So you're saying we can flip it so that there's orcs now in the forest instead of elves, because we haven't really done anything there. That's a good idea too.
And then we can make them like everything we were going to do with the elves in that forest. Just do it, but make them orcs.
Sure, we can do that.
But we don't have to do that. Like,
no,
we
let's
can
do
still
that.
Keep
let's do it. Let's send it. I love it.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is for it is sent. It is done. These elves are now orcs. Okay. So what are we going to call their like settlement / conclave / clan or whatever?
Yeah. Well, I really liked Boone's idea that he gave us last time.
Yeah.
With naming it after a grove or something.
Okay.
And I think we talked about this last time, but like, so basically calling their place like Irontree Grove.
Okay.
Then the rest of the forest is kind of named after that.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I like that. So Irontree Grove, are they themselves as a people called Irontree?
I'm not too sure. Like,
because I think I have a name.
Oh, okay.
Xerexia.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, in my office on the back side of my desk here on my wall, I have like a backdrop of all the Gundams models that I've made, and I just like kind of like grabbed two pieces of names from across the thing. I was like, ooh, those look like something. Let's smash those together.
Nice. I like it. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Surexia.
Yeah, mostly because there's a bottle of glue sitting in front of one of them, cutting off the rest of the name. And I was like, Zer what? Xerexia. I like it.
Okay, so that's the name of
They're like clan.
the clan. I like it.
Cool, cool. Right. So they basically act as like shepherds of the forest.
Yeah, but not like Ents. Shepherds of the woods.
I mean, it could be like ants.
Oh, actually, they could be. I'm actually at that point in the Two Towers. I'm reading the book again.
Yeah.
And they're just getting to Isengard after the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Okay.
Just thought I'd throw that in there.
That's cool. Yeah. So I like this idea. I like this. It gives me a good image in my head.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can see it right away, right?
Yeah. I like it. I really like it. What is, so if we're working on this, what is the like leader of the clan? Who is the clan elder / leader chief?
What if his name was like,
or her?
Zarek?
Zarek?
Well, because it's kind of like Zerexia.
Okay.
Maybe that's his last name or his clan name.
Yeah, I like it.
Like basically like Derek, but with his Z.
Okay. Zarek, I like it.
Like if we don't use that name as the name for this leader, it at least sounds like it's in the same.
Yeah, I like it. We'll send it. The Zarek of the Xerexia tribe or clan.
Maybe
tribe.
They're
clan.
kind of like I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure that out.
I like clan. Let's go with clan.
But we already have Bunnylog clan. Bunnylog.
Let's go with tribe then.
Yeah. I think specifically just because they're right next to each other.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, maybe there's Zarek. Maybe it's more like a title, like the dwarves in Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
How Durin's supposed to come back.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Maybe. Okay, like the Pope.
Yeah. Yeah. Or 007.
Okay. Oh yeah, I like that. So whatever his name is, it's now Zarek.
Oh, where'd you get that name?
Zerexia.
Like,
cool.
He is the Zarek. He is Zarek. Yeah.
All right. I like that. That's a good idea.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I've been like chewing on that one all week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I wonder if he's gonna like it if I just throw it out of left field at him like that.
I love it.
But so that also means like I think if we're switching up the orcs and the elves,
mm-hmm.
I think we should have like some elven bandits.
Okay.
That
like highwaymen on the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so like on the road going up to Bunnylog from Clearwater Crossing.
Okay.
Like there's like a bandit gang or something.
What if we call them a band?
A band. That's true. Yeah, we could do that. What's their band name?
Yeah, I think we got to get a flavor going for what these elves are. Like maybe we should talk about them a little bit.
Okay. So where did you want to start?
Well, I just kind of thought like if elves were so superior, like if we're still kind of taking some of the tropes.
Okay.
They might not be very nice. Like they wouldn't need other people as much.
Yeah.
If they were stronger and longer lived. And then that's what I mean. Like we have to kind of define how much are the orcs and the elves going to be switching.
Okay.
Like, are the orcs going to live longer?
No, no, I was thinking more like not physiology, but like culture wise.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking originally too, but we got to define it a little bit, right?
Okay. So let's say physiologically, they're the same as they would be in your standard fantasy.
Yeah. I guess really it's not too groundbreaking a thing because it would basically make these elves just basically all drow or drow, right? Like with their mentality.
I don't know though, because like
Yeah, but I mean traditionally.
traditionally, yeah. Um, I like to view them like just thinking of them as like highwaymen, like just like a gang or a band of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just makes me really happy.
It makes you happy.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, they're just a bunch of dicks. I wouldn't necessarily call them evil. They're just dicks.
Okay, I like that. Like almost like they're so far above you in their mind.
They're like, well, you're just gonna give that to us because we deserve it because we're better than you.
Yeah, and maybe they don't even openly fight. They're just like super stealthy.
Maybe
Like I mean, with the orcs, that like they just they're just like
steal their
a
stuff.
fly. Yeah, they're just like sneaking around, bugging them, and stealing things all the time.
Hmm.
Almost more like mischief makers. I
Interesting.
don't know.
Yeah. Cool.
But then if they're more like orcs, then they got to be like an actual threat though too.
Yeah. I like to think that they're like tough guys.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why maybe they need guides.
Okay. I like this.
Kind of like the enemy of my enemy sort of thing. Like the orcs and the elves have been battling in this forest. Well, maybe not battling, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like skirmishing, and then the dwarves and the humans show up, and then the orcs are like, "Well, the elves are attacking you guys too, so we should all just kind of work together."
Yeah. Okay. So, elves. Okay. What are we gonna call them?
Oh, I don't know.
The group. I want to call them like a gang. Give me your cart with the stuff, and we won't break your ankles. I don't know
Maybe
why I
they're.
said ankles and not knees. I meant to say knees.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want my ankle broken either. So,
No, no, definitely not.
so
All
should we
right,
give them like spears?
sure.
Spears are pretty equated with our buddy's dad there.
Oh, what's his name?
It starts with a
Oh,
Q, I think.
I don't remember his name, but yeah, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, they would just look like him.
That's hilarious.
Actually, maybe these elves would all like a lot of them would have like kind of red hair. Like, have you when have you seen a redheaded elf?
Spears, axes.
Yeah, because I'm kind of thinking of like the Germanic tribes, like
Okay,
during the Roman times.
yeah, like the Gaul.
Yeah, so maybe they all have mustaches too. Can we do that?
Every single one has a handlebar mustache.
Yeah, like what's that movie or that show Voltron? There, what's that guy's name? The one that we think looks like. Or how often have you seen a redheaded elf? I should.
I mean, I don't know any personally. I'm sure they're out there. And face tattoos, I guess. Anyway, all right. So, what do you want to call them?
Yeah, I don't have any ideas. We could just come back to it.
Yeah, we'll circle back. All right.
But I mean, in fiction,
Oh, it's Coran
with a Q, right?
with a C, C-O-R.
What?
Yeah.
I was imagining it different in my head.
No, I also imagined it differently, which is why I couldn't find it. But then, yeah, it's Coran, and he looks like our friend's dad.
Yeah, if he had pointy ears, right?
I
Don't they have
mean,
pointy ears?
kind of.
Like, is there anything you thought of that just this week that you wanted to?
Not particularly. This is kind of like what I wanted to go over anyway. I think with that, let me just check my notes here. I think we're now over to weekly inspiration. So what inspired you this week, Greg?
Well, just before the show started, as you know, I found something really interesting.
Okay.
It is called vulgarlang.com.
Okay.
And basically, lang meaning language, and vulgar, well, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with that. But basically, it is a fantasy language generator.
Well, that's cool.
And all you got to do is generate the new name, just like you would any name generator.
Okay.
But it's got everything like phonology, spelling, vocabulary, grammar. Like I just clicked the button and it gave me language of Laotian or Laotian, or I'm probably saying it wrong because it's got all of the it's got everything.
Like
I
accent
don't even
marks
know
and
what's in
stuff?
here. Yeah, like it's got the manner, like whether it's nasal, stop, fricative, proximate, which I don't even know what those mean.
Wow.
And then it's also got pronunciation, spelling rules. So
Okay.
J, the Y, I guess, is pronounced like a J.
Okay.
F, the F sound is spelled like SH.
Okay.
X pronunciation is spelled with a KH. So if we did like Zerexia, it wouldn't be an X, it would be a Zerek KH. Yeah. Right. And then
Okay.
it goes into grammar, like singular, plural, first, second, third person, past, present, remote past. The numbers from 1 to 10, like it just gives you all of this as soon as you push that button. It's
Wow.
crazy. Like it gives you how to count from 1 to 10. It's like you, she, shu, ya, pla, and then 11, 100, 200, 1000.
That's cool.
And
Well,
then it gives you, I think in the free version, it gives you 200 words,
wow.
the spelling. So
I like the idea.
I'm definitely going to be wasting a lot of time. Well, maybe
Yeah.
not wasting, but a lot of time in this.
Okay.
So sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there,
That's okay. That's what this is for. So
but I thought that was really cool, and I really wanted to share that. So
totally.
there's that. But how about you, though, Travis?
All
What
right.
got you
So
going this week?
as you know, I've been on a bit of a Star Wars kick in the last couple weeks. And I've started doing some work on a Mandalorian costume armor. So I've been looking at a bunch of different things, and I'm trying to like come up with like a character. So really, like, there's no specific thing that I'm. It's, well, I guess I've been watching the new episodes of The Mandalorian, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
so
man,
good.
that's so cool. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of research, doing a lot of like looking at different colors and what other people have done, and watching videos on tutorials and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm thinking about doing that.
Starting at the very top, like alphabetically, it goes A, just means now. So would mean now,
Huh.
and then AGO, ago, is pepper, and alphu is peace.
Okay.
And it just goes all the way through
That
there
could be useful.
to Yupo at the end is poison, or Yucca is the bark of a tree,
Okay.
which is kind of cool. Like it's all just completely random, and then you can save it or accept it, and there's even a button to upload it to your world anvil.
Oh, that's cool.
And we're not endorsed in any way by this, but I just thought I'd have to talk about it because I just found it, and
Yeah, you found it while we were discussing the notes for today's.
yeah, and I'm inspired now.
All
And I think
right.
it's brand new. I'm looking at the website here. It says created and designed in Sydney, Australia,
Okay.
2020.
That's really cool.
So maybe we could put some languages and start to use words from that language in
Yeah.
our world.
We'll figure it out.
I'd really like to test it out in this world using it, you know?
Okay. Well, we can look at that at doing that. Yeah. I like I've got some 3D print files that I want to try out. I went and I pulled out my lightsabers out of my storage, and I've printed myself some stands. Now they're on my shelf behind me.
Oh, that's cool. You can just print yourself some stands.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're on the shelf. So yeah, I've been doing that. Really, that's about it. I've been like pretty much consumed my life at this point right now, just trying to figure this out, what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you going to how do you think that's going to affect you creatively? How do you think that's going to
well, I've been doing a lot of research in like Mandalorian culture and such, and like reading about different examples of ones that were in legends and in different media. And I don't know, I was thinking about also maybe putting like a Mandalorian inspired character in my world as like an NPC, as like a bounty hunter or something.
Yeah. No, I think watching The Mandalorian too, I'm thinking like, man, bounty hunters are so cool.
Yeah. So I was thinking like, man, what can I do to like get this interacting with my party, whether it be in this game or a future one, right?
Mm-hmm. And so what can you say about that without giving up too much? Because I know you don't want to spoil it either, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we'll ever like get to it in this campaign that we're doing. It might be in a future one, but I know a couple of you have done some pretty shady things, and it might come back to haunt you.
Okay, yeah. So putting like a bounty board, and we're on it.
Yeah, I think that might be a funny thing to like run into.
Yeah, that's cool. And I guess you don't see it too often. Like I can't really think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, like you guys are on the bounty board. You're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do?
Cool. That also reminds me of that bounty hunter in the Star Wars. There, what's the one where it's animated?
There's a lot of them.
The Clone Wars, that blue bounty hunter.
Oh, Cad Bane.
Yeah, I kind of like him.
Yeah, he's a good character. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he has agency. Like he can survive an encounter with a Jedi, right?
Yeah, and he like puts people, like everyone who interacts with him is like on their toes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always a couple steps ahead, because I wanted to watch like one specific scene, and then I ended up spending my whole morning doing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
How much time do we got, Travis? Because I was just thinking about touching on the world building again. Yeah, very compelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, I've been on a big Star Wars kick this morning while I was waiting for you to call me, I was watching Rebels again.
And I was thinking the Clearwater would be a tributary
to a larger river.
Into a large one. So we could name the larger river and the city. Okay,
yeah, we can move down the river. I think that's what we're going to do next week. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about in this episode?
No, I guess not. I really want to go on the other side of the mountains too and work.
Yeah,
there, but I think we can do that after the coastal city.
Yeah, I think we're going to work one way and then flip around and go the other way. All right. So if you guys have liked our rambling, please, if your podcasting app does a review, please give us a review. It really helps. Share the podcast with someone you think would like it. And yeah, hit us up on Facebook, Building Blank Collaborative World Building Podcast, Instagram, Building Blank Podcast, or at our Gmail. You can always email us if you have any comments or concerns, or if we missed anything, at buildingblankpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. So I guess that wraps up another week, Building Blank.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you guys for listening. We really